Today, I'm joined by an expert who is as sleep deprived as me, I hear. His name is Dr. Andrew Ives. He's a pediatric pulmonologist at Danat Al Emarat Hospital. Now, I am mumbling on my words because I am actually sleep deprived, and I'm so glad you're here. I need help. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah.
Why are you sleep deprived?
Oh,
is it the kids?
Just bad habits, really.
What bad habits? You're not sleeping at the right time?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Most adults probably don't sleep enough. It's a pretty universal problem that most adults don't get as much sleep as we probably should in the day. So,
how much on average? They always say 8 hours. Is that true?
Yeah, that's probably about right. If you go to, if you look at diaries of people from the pre-electric kind of light era, so back to Victorian times, then they tended to get kind of 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And that's probably about the right number for an adult. For children, it's a lot more than that. And the younger the child is, the more and more sleep they need. So, for example, so I'm a children's doctor, so I deal with children and their breathing and sleep problems. If you look at an early school-age child, they probably need about 9 to 12 hours sleep. Everyone's a bit different, but that's the kind of range. Whereas if you go back to early, 1 to 2 year old children, they need more than that, sort of more 10 to 14, 11 to 15 hours sleep.
Yeah, I hear that teenagers need a lot more as well.
So, yeah, teenagers, they're an interesting group, aren't they, generally?
We used to be there.
Yeah, we were all one once, for better or worse. Teenagers are really interesting because they probably do need a bit more sleep, but there's lots of evidence too that their body clock, the bit of our brains that controls when we're awake and when we're asleep, changes in the teenage years. So that actually there's so many changes in the teenage years that affect physical health and mental health. But one of the ones we know is pretty clear is their circadian clock, the body clock, changes in teen years to sort of set them to wake up later and go to bed later. So we've all been there. And I don't know if my mum's listening. Can you listen to this station in the UK?
We can send it to her. Yes, we can download it.
She had this thing where if I wasn't getting up in the late morning, she'd threaten to pour water over my head. Thanks, Mum.
I've had that.
Have you? Yeah. But actually, we're doing a disservice to teenagers by doing this because actually it's not just bone idle, teenagers being like this. It's actually their body clocks are set differently. And so some schools have taken this on board that actually lessons for teenagers are better not started at 9 a.m. but perhaps better started at 11 a.m. and going through to later on in the afternoon, because we know what's really clear about sleep is how important it is for our mental and physical health. It's absolutely crucial for learning and development and memory and emotional regulation, as well as physical health, like your previous guest was talking about obesity. We know that poor sleep can affect obesity and cardiovascular health, etc. So, we're setting teenagers up to fail to some extent by expecting them to start school at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. when their body clocks are saying, I shouldn't be awake yet. And
it's funny because it's like, I didn't know that teenagers, when I was growing up, needed extra sleep. We were just seen as being lazy, right? Like you're saying. It's information I'm finding out over the past year or two. And now I specifically spoke to my nephew and niece who are 17 and 20, and I said, sleep as much as you want if you need to, because you need it.
Yeah, and so they do need a little bit more sleep than younger children, but again, remember it's the timing of their sleep. So don't tell your teenager off if they're still asleep at 10 a.m. or whatever, because that's actually what their brains are saying to them.
Yeah.
And so just a little bit, maybe sleeping until 1 or 2 p.m. is perhaps stretching it a bit.
Maybe I could use that on my boss and say my brain was telling me to get up at 12, not to 9 a.m.
Yeah, it doesn't work for adults. Unfortunately, adults, for sleep and sleep behaviors, I'm not an adult physician, I will say this, but for adults, we don't help ourselves with sleep and sleep behaviors. That's definitely true. And modern life doesn't help our sleeping behaviors either. It's absolutely awful for sleep. But adults, the kind of sleep and the way adults sleep changes compared to children too. So the bits of our brains that control sleep start to kind of become a little bit less effective and a little bit more, rubbish.
Really? That's what I feel is happening.
The older we get, it's definitely true. So that adults compared to children, for example, get much less deep, restful sleep, whereas younger children get loads. And that's probably partly because sleep is so important for learning and development and brain reorganization and brain development. But the bit of our brain stops working so well in adults. And relevant to the Middle East and hot climates is we know that adults struggle more with temperature control and optimal temperatures to get to sleep as well. So
this heat right now, the way I see it, we're sleeping in AC. I'm not sleeping very well. I slept at 1:30 like 2 nights ago, and I'm mumbling on the radio because I can feel the tiredness. Obviously, because I can't sleep, what do? I pick up the phone, and that's adding extra light. It's a vicious cycle.
So I brought my 8-year-old son with me today, and he's sitting in the room next to us on his tablet, and it's hard to get him off it, and it's hard to get many of us off our electronic devices now. And this is one of the things that is the absolute worst thing for sleep is devices, electronic devices, televisions, phones, tablets. It's not just the stimulation that they give us, which we shouldn't be having close to bedtime. So that's one tip for good sleep, is don't be too stimulated close to bedtime. It's the kind of light they produce as well. So our brains are set up to... So what's the biggest influence day to day the biggest light influence in our lives? It's the sun going up and down.
Yeah.
And that's evolution from an evolutionary point of view, what the biggest drive to sleep and wake is, the sun coming up and down. And if we're sticking in, so your brain your eyes are saying to your brain, look, it's getting dark now. It's time to start to get ready to go to sleep. And if you're sticking in front of your face, lights, electronic devices that are fooling your brain into saying, oh, it's not bedtime now, then this is really bad for you. And actually the kind of light, it's called blue light, the kind of light that the electronic devices produce is the worst for that of all.
Really?
So again, this comes back to teenagers on their tablets or phones at bedtime. But, I'm a complete hypocrite because I do it too. We all do it. And it's absolutely terrible for sleep quality.
So, okay, is there an ideal temperature maybe our rooms should be, that we should put the AC on right now during the summer? Because I heard that a cooler room is better to sleep in. Yeah,
you got to get that kind of Goldilocks temperature. Because,
I love that term.
Thank you. I didn't make it up myself. But it's not too cold, because we can't sleep if it's too cold, and not too hot. You can't sleep if it's too hot. And the reason why that is, one of the things our bodies do in getting us ready to go to sleep is to cool down, is to lose excess heat and cool your body core down to say, right, it's sleep time. And so the room temperature is crucial for that. The other thing that's crucial is not doing things to make you too hot at bedtime. And careful. Exercise, exactly. Exercise. So exercise too close to bedtime is really bad for sleep. But the room
really, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So and this is one of the things that adults do badly. So you go out for a run in the evening before bedtime, for example. I mean, I don't, but some mad people do.
Yeah, we're on our phones.
I'm watching stuff on Apple TV or whatever. But that's actually really bad because it causes your body to produce stress hormones that keep you awake. But also it heats your body up, it warms your body up, which is not what you want to try to go to sleep. So
what about a cold shower or something before you go to bed?
I think so. So if there's any way, that can be quite relaxing.
Yeah.
There are apparent health benefits to cold showers as well that I've never been brave enough to try for myself.
I did one this morning. It wasn't that cold, but it was cold.
Do you feel better?
I'm not sure. I think a little bit better. I needed to wake up, but I've heard you just do a little bit, at the end of your shower and just try it.
So, but the room temperature is the biggest mistake that people make.
So what should we have it on?
This again varies with age, and this is another reason why adults, particularly older adults, have such sleep problems in the younger people, children and young adults. So there's a range of temperature which the room can be where your body core can shunt its temperatures to the skin to cool down. And that kind of ranges from probably about 18 degrees to mid to high 20 degree kind of range.
Like 24, 25 max.
Yeah, and some people would say more go to the lower end of that range, 18 to 20 kind of range. adults, and particularly older adults, struggle much more to have a much tighter and narrower ability to do that compared to children. For those of us that have got children, you've seen they can fall asleep anywhere, any position, any temperature. And that's partly for that, is that they can lose their cool down at night time more easily, where adults struggle more. So not only does the brain bit of adults work less well, and so you have less deep sleep, it's more fragmented, less restful, they also struggle to cool down more. So setting I would say probably an ideal temperature is 18 to 20, kind of low 20s maybe at the most.
Oh, that's interesting. Mine's on 24, so maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so there's getting the right temperature, the right light, and the right noise. So these are all really good tips for good sleep.
Noise-wise, you'd say like white noise? Or?
No, a quiet, non-stim. So some people do try white noise, but by no noise, I mean no stimulating noise from televisions or.
What about light?
Like
So should you have blackout curtains? So in the morning, okay.
So well, this goes two ways. So you definitely should have a dark, quiet bedroom. And one of the ways to get that is to have blackout curtains. Now with children, you've got to be a little bit careful, because obviously some younger children are scared of the dark. It's a scary time, and so you have to balance that. Sometimes with younger children, have some source of light so they're more reassured and calmer, so night lights, for example. But sources of light in the bedroom are really bad for sleep, and that can even go to things, well, I've already said about mobile phones, but that can even go to things like lights on bedside radios and bedside clocks. We know are really bad, and the reason why is it fools your brain into thinking it's not bedtime, it's not nighttime. And this has been used by the military. The military have done experiments to keep fighter pilots, for example, awake longer. And by shining lights in a specialized way into the back of the eye, you can keep fighter pilots awake, or Air Force pilots awake for 36 hours or more. And this has been done. This has been done in combat situations to keep pilots more alert and more awake. So shining lights into your eyes or having any source of light in the bedroom can be a really bad thing. That's
interesting. Now we're running out of time. I want to get you back on because this is so interesting. What do you think of humidifiers and purifiers? Will they help?
I get asked this a lot about humidifiers, and I'm fairly ambivalent about it. I think some people do report that they're helpful. Humidity can help. So this again goes with the air conditioning thing, is sometimes air conditioners help with the temperature, but if you turn them off, it does help the humidity a bit as well. And some people certainly report to me that the children patients I have, that they feel better with humidifiers. And sometimes if the air is too dry and warm, that can be uncomfortable, and it certainly is uncomfortable for some children with breathing issues. They are more comfortable when it's humidified. So I do sometimes advise sometimes humidification can help a little bit.
Okay,
but I don't push it. It's not something I think there are things that are more important about sleep, and that's good sleep hygiene.
Okay, well, I'm going to turn my AC down tonight, and I'll let you know, okay? And you have to have that cold shower. Okay, thank you.
I'll try.
Thanks, Dr. Andrew.